The Basement Tenant, A Quiet Home. In August 2018, Emily Turner moved into a small two-story duplex on the west side of Cleveland. The rent was cheap, the neighborhood was quiet, and the place smelled faintly of cedar and dust. She loved the creak of old wooden floors and the sound of rain tapping on the window panes. Her landlord, Mr. Hawkins, an older man with a limp, told her, "Basement's shared, just laundry and storage. Don't worry about the doors, it sticks sometimes." That first week, everything seemed normal. She unpacked, decorated, and graded papers at her kitchen table late into the night. But she started noticing strange details. Her detergent bottle moved a few inches every time she went downstairs. A pile of folded clothes appeared that weren't hers. She shrugged it off as forgetfulness, or maybe Mr. Hawkins storing his things. But one night, when she came home from a late staff meeting, she noticed a dim light glowing from beneath the basement door. A flicker like a candle. She called out softly, "Mr. Hawkins?" No answer, just a faint scraping sound like metal dragging on concrete. She leaned closer. The light vanished. When she opened the door, the bulb above the basement stairs buzzed and flickered to life. The space below was completely dark and freezing. At the bottom step sat a pair of muddy men's boots, still wet, and next to them, a half-eaten sandwich on a paper plate. Footsteps in the floor. Over the next week, Emily couldn't shake the unease. Every night around 2 a.m., faint footsteps echoed from below. Slow, deliberate steps pacing across the concrete basement floor. She told herself it was pipes or expansion noise. But her cat Milo would hiss at the basement door, fur raised, staring into the gap beneath it. One evening she decided to prove it was her imagination. She placed a baby monitor near the laundry machines before bed, leaving the receiver on her nightstand. At 1:58 a.m., the monitor clicked softly, static. Then, a shuffle. A low, heavy breathing. Emily sat up, heart hammering. She heard the rustle of fabric. Then a voice. "You're up late again." She froze. The voice was deep, male, quiet, and close. She crept to the hallway, listening. The floorboards above the basement groaned under her bare feet. Suddenly, the breathing stopped. The baby monitor went dead. Emily locked her bedroom door that night and didn't sleep. The next morning she found the basement door ajar. The chain lock she'd installed was snapped clean through, the screws twisted from the wood. When she told Mr. Hawkins, his face went pale. "Miss Turner, I haven't had a key to that door in years." The hidden space Emily bought a motion sensor light and installed it in the basement doorway. The first night it triggered, she ran downstairs with her phone flashlight, but found nothing. Still, the air was wrong down there, thick and humid, like rotting fabric. One afternoon, while doing laundry, she noticed a false wall panel behind an old freezer. It was painted the same color as the concrete, but slightly uneven. She tapped it. Hollow curiosity won. She pulled the panel aside. Behind it was a crawl space barely 4 feet tall, filled with piles of old clothing, newspapers, and food wrappers. A dirty sleeping bag was crumpled in one corner. On the far wall, she saw something carved into the cement with a nail. "I live here too." Her breath caught. She backed out, slammed the panel shut, and ran upstairs. That night, she called the police. 2 officers came, searched the basement, and said no one was there. But as they left, one of them paused at the door and said quietly, "You should consider moving out." Emily asked, "Did you find something?" He hesitated. "No one. Recently." The smell of metal days passed without incident. Emily stopped going into the basement. Then came the smell, faint at first, like rusted iron and spoiled meat. It grew stronger each day. When she mentioned it to Mr. Hawkins, he frowned. "You sure it's not the pipes?" That night, she woke to the metallic stench so thick it burned her throat. She crept to the kitchen window and saw something strange. The basement light was on again, but flickering like a bare bulb swaying. Against her better judgment, she tiptoed down with her phone camera recording. The air was colder than she remembered. Each breath came out as fog. Halfway down, she heard a wet dragging sound, like something being pulled across the floor. Then the bulb above exploded, plunging her into darkness. She scrambled up the stairs, slammed the door, and leaned against it, panting. Through the wood, she heard it, a whisper right on the other side. "You shouldn't have found my room." The man in the mirror. Emily didn't go to work the next day. She stayed home, curtains drawn, door locked, Around noon, she was brushing her teeth in the bathroom when she saw movement in the mirror, a shadow behind her. Standing in the doorway, she spun around, nothing, but on the bathroom counter sat something that hadn't been there before, a rusty key. She picked it up with shaking hands and realized it matched the old padlock on the basement door. A note was taped beneath it, scrawled in jagged handwriting, "For later." She dialed 911 again, but the call dropped. When she looked at her phone screen, the Wi-Fi symbol was gone, replaced by no service. That night she sat awake with every light in the house on. The shadows seemed to move on their own, stretching longer, darker. At 3:17 a.m., something thumped once from below, heavy enough to rattle the dishes. Then came the voice again, this time from the floor vent beside her bed. "You locked me out." "The crawl space opens," Emily snapped. She grabbed a kitchen knife, ran to the basement, and kicked the door open. Her flashlight beam trembled as she moved down the stairs. The smell hit her again, metallic, sour, human. The false wall panel was wide open. The crawl space behind it looked deeper than before. She stepped closer. The light caught something inside, a man. Crouched low, eyes wild, beard tangled, holding a torn photograph of Emily asleep in bed. He hissed, "You weren't supposed to see me." Emily screamed and stumbled back, slamming the door. She ran outside barefoot, pounding on her neighbor's door. The police arrived minutes later. When they searched, the crawlspace was empty. Only the sleeping bag and piles of old clothes remained. But one of the officers found a small tunnel leading to the foundation wall, connected to a storm drain that led under the street. The man was gone. The return Emily moved out 2 weeks later, staying with a friend across town. Every night she dreamed of the basement, the footsteps, the voice, the smell. She started therapy, trying to rebuild her life. Then one evening, her phone buzzed with a notification from her home security camera app. Motion detected. She opened it, expecting an empty feed. Instead, the live footage showed the basement of her old duplex. The light flickering. A man stepped into view, staring directly into the camera, mouth curling into a grin. He held a piece of cardboard with one word written in red marker, "Home." Then the screen went black. The house for rent. A month later, Emily's old duplex went back on the market. The listing described it as charming, affordable, recently renovated. During an open house, a young couple toured the property with a real estate agent. They admired the hardwood floors and vintage kitchen. The husband joked, "Cleveland prices, huh?" "Too good to be true." The wife tugged the basement door. "What's down there?" The agent smiled politely. "Just laundry." Basements shared. The door creaked open. At the bottom of the steps, in the faint glow of a single bulb, a pair of muddy boots waited beside a half-eaten sandwich on a paper plate. The wife turned to the agent. "Who's living down there?" He blinked. No one. But as they left, the basement light flickered, and for a split second a man's silhouette appeared behind the freezer wall, still watching. Still home. The Thing in room 103, the last vacancy. It was past midnight when Daniel Brooks pulled into a flickering neon motel just off Interstate 40, his eyes bloodshot from a 12-hour haul. The sign buzzed, "Sunset Inn, vacancy." The office was dimly lit, with faded carpet and a dying air conditioner rattling in the corner. The night clerk, a pale man with greasy hair, slid the register forward without a word. "Room 103, he muttered, handing Daniel an old brass key on a cracked tag. The hallway smelled of disinfectant and cigarette smoke. The carpet squished under his boots. Room 103's door stuck when he pushed it open, and the faint smell of mildew and old coffee greeted him. He set down his bag, switched on the lamp, and froze. In the reflection of the mirror above the dresser, the room looked different. The bed was made in the reflection, though it wasn't behind him. The curtain in the mirror was closed, but in reality it was open. He blinked, confused, and reached for the glass. The surface of the mirror rippled, just slightly, like water disturbed by a breath. He yanked his hand back, heart thudding. The air in the room grew heavy, the silence sharp. Daniel laughed nervously. "Just tired, man," he muttered. He climbed into bed and turned off the light, but as his eyes adjusted to the dark, the faint outline of a figure standing in front of the mirror emerged, tall, thin, motionless, watching him breathe. The reflection moves. Daniel woke before dawn, drenched in sweat. The figure from the night before was gone, and pale sunlight leaked through the curtains. He tried to laugh it off as a dream, until he noticed something strange. Handprints on the inside of the mirror, smudged and oily, like someone had pressed against the glass from the other side. He wiped them away with a towel, but the prints slowly reappeared as the steam from his morning shower filled the room. At the diner next door, he told the waitress, an older woman named Karen, about the weird mirror. Her face fell. "Room 103? She asked quietly. "You didn't stay there, did you?" When he nodded, she leaned closer. "Man killed his wife in that room 2 years ago. Broke the mirror after she screamed. They say he saw something in it before he lost it." Daniel laughed nervously again. "You're kidding." But when he returned that evening, the door to room 103 was wide open, the curtain moving in a breeze. Inside, the mirror had changed. The reflection now showed a man sitting on the edge of the bed, but Daniel was standing. The man's head slowly turned in the glass, though Daniel hadn't moved, and then the reflection smiled at a slow, knowing grin before the light in the room flickered and went out completely. The knock at 3:11, Daniel woke to a knock at exactly 3:11 a.m. 3 slow knocks, silence, then 3 more. He sat up, every instinct screaming not to answer. "Front desk?" he called, voice shaking. No reply. The knocking moved. From the door to the mirror. Soft thuds like fingertips tapping from inside the glass. Daniel crept closer, phone flashlight trembling in his hand. His reflection looked pale, eyes sunken, lips slightly open. But as he moved his light across the glass, he realized his reflection wasn't moving with him. He froze. The version of him in the mirror slowly raised its hand and pointed toward the closet behind him. Daniel turned. The closet door was cracked open just an inch. Something inside shifted, a faint metal scraping sound. He backed up until his shoulders hit the dresser, pulse racing. The mirror flickered again. For a moment, the reflection wasn't him at all. It was the same man from the diner story, the one who'd killed his wife, blood dripping from his chin, then a whisper from inside the glass. "Your turn." The stranger in the mirror. By morning, Daniel looked like he hadn't slept in days. He told the front desk clerk about the knocking, but the man just frowned. "Sir, that room's been empty since midnight. You checked out yesterday." Daniel's heart sank. "What do you mean?" "I never—" But when he looked at the key tag in his hand, it read room 106, not 103. His handwriting on the register matched. Somehow, he had signed for a different room. Yet when he unlocked 103 with the brass key, it still fit. The air inside was ice cold. The sheets were pulled back and the mirror, now cracked at one corner, seemed darker, like it absorbed the light instead of reflecting it. Daniel stared into it, whispering, "Who are you?" The reflection blinked, once, then again. Then it spoke in his own voice. "I'm already here." The lights flickered violently. Daniel stumbled back and hit the nightstand, sending his phone clattering to the floor. When the light steadied, the reflection wasn't his anymore. It was a man standing behind him in the room, grinning. The motel worker. Daniel bolted from room 103 and pounded on the front office door until the clerk opened it. The man's expression was blank, as if he'd been expecting him. "You shouldn't stay in that room," the clerk said quietly. "People disappear in there. We leave it open so no one else checks in by mistake." Daniel demanded to see security footage. After some hesitation, the clerk led him into a cramped back office and played the night's recording. The screen showed the hallway outside room 103. At 3:11 a.m., Daniel appeared walking out of his room, but not alone. Behind him, something tall and black-shadowed followed, its arms too long, its face featureless except for a stretched white grin. It followed him down the hall. Daniel whispered, "That's not possible. I never left my bed." The clerk hit pause and pointed at the screen. "Then who's that?" The camera zoomed slightly, and the figure turned its head directly toward the lens, grinning wider. The feed glitched to static. "The reflection comes through." Daniel grabbed his things, intent on leaving before sunset. But when he returned to pack, room 103's mirror was gone. In its place was a dark rectangle in the wall, A hole, about the size of a doorway, filled with faint movement like shifting smoke. The air around it pulsed with heat. He stepped closer, and the surface of the void began to shimmer, forming faint outlines, the bed, the lamp, and his own reflection staring back, except it looked wrong. Its grin stretched ear to ear. Daniel turned to run, but the door slammed shut, locks clicking one by one. The room darkened until all he could see was the faint red glow of exit light bleeding under the door. Then, from the hole a hand reached out, pale, long-fingered. Gripping the air, the reflection stepped through, slowly, skin rippling like water. It smiled. "I told you I'm already here." The desert silence morning. The cleaning lady knocked on the door of room 103, no answer. She opened it. The bed was made, the lights off, but on the dresser lay Daniel's wallet, keys, and phone. The mirror was back on the wall, spotless, except this time, the reflection wasn't right. In the glass, the room's door was wide open, though behind her, it was closed, and in the reflection someone stood behind her shoulder, a tall, thin man smiling. She turned, gasping. No one there. She ran to the office, shouting. The motel manager checked the footage, but the camera outside room 103 was nothing but static from 3:11 a.m. to sunrise. No one had entered or left. Daniel Brooks was never found. The next guest. 2 months later, the Sunset Inn reopened room 103 after electrical repairs. A young couple traveling cross-country checked in late one night. The clerk gave them the key without looking up. As they unpacked, the wife brushed her hair in front of the mirror and frowned. "Honey, how did you just stand behind me?" The husband turned from the bed, confused. "What are you talking about?" She pointed to the glass. "I swear I saw someone." He laughed, shaking his head. "You're seeing things." They turned off the light and went to sleep. But if you look closely, even now, as locals say, the reflection in that mirror doesn't match the room. Sometimes it shows a tired truck driver sitting on the bed, whispering, "Don't look too long. He's right behind you." The knock beneath the floor. The cabin by the stream Erica Lang arrived in Asheville after a long drive from Atlanta, seeking quiet to finish her mountain photography project. The cabin she rented sat off a dirt road near a small stream, surrounded by towering pine trees and moss-covered rocks. Inside, the air smelled of cedar and rain. A stone fireplace sat in the corner, dusty but intact. A single bedroom with a creaky wooden floor led to a narrow hallway. Everything was cozy, except for one thing, a square wooden hatch in the floor near the living room rug. She didn't remember seeing that in the listing photos. Curiosity tugged at her. She lifted the rug and found an old iron ring handle bolted into the hatch. When she pulled, it didn't budge. Locked from below, maybe. That night, as rain whispered against the roof, she unpacked her camera and went over her photos. The forest was silent. Then, a faint knock. It came from the floor beneath her feet. 3 slow knocks. Pause. Then 2 more. She froze. "Hello?" No response. The sound came again, slightly louder, almost impatient, as if something beneath the floor wanted her attention. She grabbed her phone flashlight and stared at the hatch. Something or someone knocked back exactly when she tapped once on the wood. Her breath hitched. No way! Outside, the storm grew heavier. The power flickered, and beneath the floorboards came a muffled whisper. "Don't open it." The hatch that shouldn't be there. Morning brought a weak, grey light filtering through the fog. Erica convinced herself she'd imagined the knocking. Mountain cabins creak, right? She made coffee, grabbed her camera, and walked outside. The ground was soaked, mist curling through the pines. Her boots sank into the soft earth near the cabin, and that's when she saw it. A vent pipe, rusty and sticking up just a few feet from the porch, leading down into the ground, directly beneath where the hatch would be. She crouched, peering inside, but it was pitch black. She called out, "Hello?" A faint echo replied. Not words, just a low, hollow exhale. Back inside, she decided to lift the hatch cover again. It still wouldn't open. She fetched a screwdriver and small hammer from her car, prying gently at the edges. Dust and splinters filled the air. Finally, the wood shifted. Not open, but loose enough to reveal a narrow gap. Her draft of cold air rushed out, carrying a smell like wet soil and rust. Erica coughed and leaned closer with her phone light. Beneath the hatch she saw stairs, old wooden stairs, descending into darkness. But there was something else too, a bare footprint on the top step. Fresh and wet, even though the space below was sealed tight. Her stomach turned. That night, while editing her photos by the fireplace, she heard faint footsteps beneath her again, slow, measured, circling below the hatch. Then, a new sound, a breathing right under the floor, for the voice from below. The storm returned that night with pounding rain and thunder that rattled the windows. Erica sat on the couch wrapped in a blanket, every light in the cabin on. At 2:47 a.m. she heard it again, knocking. Only this time it came with a voice. "Erica, help me," her blood ran cold. Kit was her name, Mortu, whispered, trembling like someone begging through tears. She grabbed her phone, recording video. "Who are you?" she asked, voice cracking. The reply came softer now, childlike. "Please, it's dark. I can't get out." She stepped back, eyes on the hatch. "You shouldn't be down there." "They put me here," the voice said. "You have to open it." Her phone screen glitched, recording flickering and digital static. Suddenly, 3 loud bangs shook the hatch from below. Erica screamed, stumbling back. The floorboards vibrated like something massive had hit them from underneath. She ran to the door, fumbling with the lock, but it wouldn't turn. Rain hammered the windows. The lights flickered, then silence. A faint scraping began again, like fingernails dragging across the underside of the wooden hatch. In her recording playback, the voice said one more thing, something she hadn't heard in real time. "I can see you now." The neighbor's warning. By morning, Erica packed her gear, ready to leave. She drove down the muddy road to the nearest gas station, still shaking. Inside, the Clarks, an old man with sunken eyes, noticed her pale face. "You staying up near Ridge Hollow?" he asked. When she nodded, his expression hardened. "That cabin? You best be leavin'. 'Tain't right what's under it." He told her a story. Back in the 1950s, a man built that cabin himself. He lived there with his wife and daughter. One spring, the daughter vanished. Folks searched for weeks, but she was never found. The man claimed he heard her crying from under the floor, begging to be let out. Then one day the man disappeared too. "They sealed that hatch ever since," the Clark whispered. "Don't open it, miss. Whatever's down there, it ain't human no more." Erica's hands trembled on her coffee cup. I already heard her." The old man's face went pale. "Then you're marked." She left the store in a daze. When she reached the cabin again, the rug was already pulled aside, the hatch wide open, as if waiting for her. A cold draft seeped out, smelling of iron and rot, and in the dark below, she heard giggling. Below the cabin, Erica recorded everything. She strapped her GoPro to her chest and descended the stairs beneath the hatch. Each step creaked under her boots. The air was thick and wet. The narrow tunnel below stretched out like an old cellar, the walls lined with rotting wooden beams. The smell was unbearable, damp soil and something. "Sweet decayed, hello?" she whispered, light shaking. A small sound echoed back, like a child humming a lullaby. She turned to corners and froze. Tiny handprints lined the dirt walls. Dozens of them, some smeared with old brown stains. A half-buried doll's head stared from the mud, its glass eye cracked. Then came the voice again, but now it was behind her. "You came," she spun around. No one there. Her light flickered. When it steadied, something moved at the far end of the tunnel. A shadow crouching low, long hair matted, face obscured. Erica whispered, "Who are you?" It giggled, then screamed, a high, distorted wail that made her drop the camera. She scrambled back up the stairs, slamming the hatch shut behind her. But the knocking resumed immediately, louder, faster, like it was coming up. The police report. The next morning, a state trooper named Officer Graham arrived after Erica called 911. She told him everything. The knocking, the voice, the tunnel. He sighed, clearly skeptical. "Let's have a look." They lifted the hatch. The smell hit them first, sour, earthy, and unmistakably rotting. Graham descended with his flashlight, calling out, "Police! Anyone down here?" Seconds later, he shouted, "Jesus Christ," and stumbled back up. Gagging, Erica peered over his shoulder. Below, half buried in the dirt wall, were bones, and small, fragile, unmistakably human. The doll's head lay beside them. When they climbed out, Graham called it in, his hand shaking. But while waiting for backup, he asked, "You sure you were alone here?" Erica frowned. "Yes, why?" He turned his radio toward her. The device hissed with static, but faintly through the noise came a child's voice. "Please don't leave me again." Graham's face drained of color. He dropped the radio, and from the open hatch, a hand, small, pale, dirt-covered, reached up and slammed it shut from inside. The return at midnight. That night, after police cordoned off the cabin, Erica stayed at a motel 20 miles away. She couldn't sleep. Her phone buzzed. A notification from her GoPro's cloud backup. New footage uploaded. Her hands trembled as she played it. The video showed the tunnel, and after she dropped the camera, something crawled toward the lens. A girl, maybe 8 years old, in a torn dress, hair soaked with mud. Her eyes were completely black. She leaned close to the camera and whispered, "She's still down here." Then another figure appeared behind her, taller, with a twisted grin and no eyes at all. It reached for the girl, and the footage cut out. Erica screamed and threw her phone away. Moments later, a knock came at her motel door. 3 slow knocks, followed by a whisper through the wood, "We found your floor." The cabin's silence. 2 weeks later, Officer Graham returned to the cabin site. The hatch was sealed again with fresh nails. The dirt tunnel below had collapsed, burying everything. He sighed, looking around the quiet woods. Birds chirped faintly, life returning. As he turned to leave, he noticed something glinting under the porch, Erica's GoPro, half buried in the mud. He pocketed it. Later at the station, he plugged it in. The screen showed a final corrupted clip, Erica standing inside her cabin, smiling. But something was wrong. The angle looked like it was filmed from beneath the floorboards. Looking up, her eyes were empty, mouth slack, and she whispered, "It's warm down here." Then the feed went black. To this day, locals say that on rainy nights, hikers hear knocking sounds echoing through the forest, faint and rhythmic, like something trapped beneath the ground, waiting to be heard again. The Vanishing Rest Stop. The endless road Lucas Warren had been driving 18 hours straight, hauling electronics from Denver to Chicago. The night sky stretched black and heavy over the Nebraska plains. No lights except for the thin beam of his truck's headlights cutting through the fog. His eyes burned with fatigue, so when he spotted the glowing green sign reading "Rest Area 1 mile," relief washed over him. The rest stop looked ordinary. 2 vending machines, a single brick restroom building, and an old payphone near the entrance. A flickering yellow light buzzed overhead, attracting moths. He parked his rig, stepped out, and stretched. The air was still and unnervingly quiet. Not even crickets. Inside the restroom, the tiles were clean but damp, smelling faintly of bleach and something metallic. When Lucas came back out, he noticed something odd. His truck's headlights were off. He was sure he'd left them on. He clicked the fob. Nothing. The entire rest stop's lights flickered once, twice, then went completely dark. He stood in the pitch black, the fog thickening like smoke. Somewhere beyond the lot, gravel crunched, as if someone was walking slowly toward him. "Hello?" he called out. No answer, only the sound of slow, dragging footsteps. Getting closer. When the lights buzzed back to life, the lot was empty, except for a pair of muddy footprints leading away from his truck into the cornfield beyond the fence. The woman by the payphone. Lucas shook off the unease. Maybe another traveler had stopped while the lights went out. But the prints, they were small, like a woman's shoes. He decided to call his dispatcher. The payphone stood at the edge of the rest stop, next to a "Travel Safely" sign half covered in dirt. When he picked up the receiver, there was already static and faint breathing on the line. "Hello?" he said. A woman's voice whispered back, trembling. "Don't stay there." The line went dead. Lucas froze, staring at the receiver. The phone still emitted a faint hum, but no dial tone. Then movement. A woman stood near the vending machines, maybe 30 feet away. She wore a pale gray dress that swayed slightly in the wind. Her back was turned. "Hey!" Lucas shouted. "You okay, ma'am?" No response. She didn't move. When he took a step forward, the light above her flickered, and in the split second of darkness, she was suddenly facing him. Her face was pale, eyes wide, mouth hanging slightly open, like she was silently screaming. Lucas stumbled backward. The light flickered again, and she was gone. He sprinted back to his truck, slamming the door and locking it. Heart hammering, he checked the time. 2:13 a.m. The CB radio on his dash crackled suddenly. Driver eastbound. You at the rest stop. He grabbed the mic. Yeah, who's this? Static. Then faintly, that place burned down in 92. Get out. The burned foundations. Lucas gripped the steering wheel, pulse racing. Burned down. That didn't make sense. The building looked new, the lights functional. To prove it to himself, he started the truck and slowly rolled toward the exit. But the sign that had once read, Rest Area, now looked different. The reflective paint was cracked and blackened, the words charred and barely readable. He parked again, grabbed his flashlight and stepped out. The fog was denser now, swirling around the base of his boots. The air smelled like wet ash. When he shined the light on the restroom building, his stomach dropped. The brick wall was scorched, blackened with soot. The vending machines were melted husks, but he had just used one 20 minutes ago. He moved closer, hand trembling. Inside the restroom, the stalls were twisted metal frames, the ceiling caved in. Among the debris, he saw something gleaming, a driver's license. Half buried in the ash, it read, Angela Pierce, 1973-1992, the woman from the payphone. He backed out, breath coming fast. His truck, parked just yards away, looked dimly lit inside, as if someone was sitting in the passenger seat. He called out, Who's in my truck? The figure didn't move. He aimed his flashlight at the cab. The seat was empty, but the windshield was fogged up from the inside and written on the glass. With a finger, Don't leave me here again. The dispatcher's tape. Lucas finally sped off, tires spitting gravel. He didn't stop driving until dawn, pulling into a way station 50 miles east. There he called his dispatcher Carl and told him everything. Carl paused, voice shaky. Lucas, I got your call last night. You said you'd broken down near Lincoln. Lucas frowned. No, I didn't. I was near Ogallala. I didn't call you. Carl went quiet. Then he said, I recorded it. You didn't sound right. He sent Lucas the voicemail. The playback made Lucas's skin crawl. The voice sounded like his, but weaker, distant, and behind it faintly was a woman sobbing. Carl, the voice said, don't let her find me again. Static followed. Then a whisper so soft Lucas barely caught it. The fire never stopped. Carl asked, You sure you didn't fall asleep at the wheel, man? Hallucinate. Lucas swore he hadn't. When he looked out the way station window, a semi-truck pulled up beside his. Its trailer was blackened, its number plate burned unreadable. And inside the cab, sitting in the driver's seat, was the same woman from the rest stop, staring straight ahead, eyes glowing faintly under the dawn light. When he blinked, she was gone. But the truck remained, rusted and half-melted, like it had been sitting abandoned for 30 years. The accident on mile 243. Later that day, Lucas met another driver at a diner off mile 243. When he told the story, the man's face went white. Buddy, that rest stop's a memorial site now. My uncle died in that fire. He explained that in 1992, a trucker had stopped for fuel and fallen asleep in his rig. A gas leak from the rest stop's generator exploded, killing 6 people, including a young woman using the payphone. Locals said that sometimes, on foggy nights, travelers still see the lights flickering and hear the phone ring. Like the rest stop never burned. Lucas felt dizzy. So what did I see? The man shrugged. Maybe she wanted you to know. Driving again that night, Lucas passed the same highway stretch. Out of instinct, he slowed where the rest stop had been, only there was nothing. Just an empty patch of land, weeds growing through cracked asphalt. Then his radio crackled. Driver eastbound. Come back, he froze. The voice was hers. Oh, you forgot me. His GPS suddenly rerouted, showing a small side road that shouldn't exist. It led straight back toward the burned-out rest stop site. Back to the ashes. Against all logic, Lucas followed the GPS. His hands shook as he turned onto the side road. The fog thickened instantly, swallowing the truck's headlights. The road ended at a familiar sight, the rest stop. glowing faintly under the fog, perfectly rebuilt. He stepped out. The air buzzed with heat, the faint scent of smoke. Every sound was muted like he was underwater. He approached the payphone. The receiver hung loose, swinging gently. It rang once, twice. He picked it up. "Lucas," the woman's voice said, softer now. "I need to go home," he whispered. "Who are you?" "You promised." Then a flash and a bright, roaring flame erupted behind the building. The light illuminated rows of black silhouettes, people frozen mid-scream, their bodies outlined in smoke. Lucas dropped the phone and ran toward his truck, but it was already melting, tires sagging, glass bubbling from heat that wasn't there seconds ago. When he looked back, the rest stop was gone. Only smoke rose from the dirt. The footage. 2 days later, Nebraska Highway Patrol found Lucas's truck idling on the side of I-80, engine running, headlights on. No sign of Lucas. Inside the cab they found his dashcam still recording. The footage showed him driving through fog, then stopping, stepping out, and walking toward a bright light ahead. A woman in grey appeared, standing by the road. She smiled. "I told you not to leave me here." Then she reached for the camera. Her hand passed through the lens. The feed warped, showing the same image on a loop, flames consuming the rest stop. Every few seconds, the image flickered to Lucas's face, eyes empty, skin pale, mouthing the same words over and over, "Don't stop for her." The new rest area. A month later, a new rest stop opened along I-80, built over the old site. Brand new concrete, modern facilities, bright blue lights. But truckers soon started reporting the same thing, lights flickering, a payphone ringing, and a woman seen walking near the vending machines at 2 a.m. One driver claimed he spoke to her. She asked him to make a call and handed him a quarter blackened with soot. When he looked down, the coin had melted in his palm. That same night, a dashcam recorded the rest stop lights going out all at once, followed by faint smoke rising from the roof, though firefighters later found nothing there. Locals avoid the area now. They say that when fog settles over I-80, you can still see the old rest stop glowing faintly in the mist, with a single figure standing by the payphone, waiting for a call that never ends. The house that listened. The perfect listing. In the quiet suburbs of Ridgefield, Connecticut, Dana Mercer was thrilled to finally land the listing of a lifetime. A brand new 5-bedroom home on Hollow Creek Drive, valued at nearly $1 million. It was sleek, minimal, and eerily silent. Her client, a retired architect, had built it himself but never moved in. "Too many memories," he'd said vaguely during the handoff. When Dana toured the house alone one cloudy afternoon, she noticed how every sound seemed amplified. Her shoes on the hardwood, her breath echoing up the stairwell. Even her whispered notes bounced off the walls strangely, delayed by half a second, like an echo that didn't belong to her. The house smelled faintly of pine and cleaning chemicals. In the living room, a massive floor-to-ceiling mirror leaned against the wall, reflecting the empty space. Dana checked her hair, smiled, and swore she saw someone standing behind her reflection. She turned fast. Nothing there. Shrugging, she blamed exhaustion. That night, she uploaded the photos to her laptop, but in every image, faint distortions appeared near the mirror, outlines of a person. Her phone buzzed with a new voicemail. Static. Then a whisper. Her own voice. "Don't go back there, Dana," but she hadn't made that call. The open house. The following Saturday, Dana hosted the open house. Rain drizzled outside, streaking the glass windows. She lit candles for ambiance and turned on soft music. Couples wandered in, complimenting the marble counters and skylights. Everything seemed normal, until she realized no one ever entered or exited through the front door. She had 6 visitors on her clipboard. None had names. None had cars outside. As she offered coffee, a tall man in a dark coat stood in the kitchen corner, silent. His eyes never left her. "You're not supposed to be here," he said softly. "What?" Dana asked, startled. He smiled. "The house doesn't like noise." Then he was gone. The music stopped abruptly. Every light flickered. The smell of burning wires filled the air. She unplugged the speaker. but the faint hum continued, deep in the walls. Later, when reviewing the guest book, she saw 6 signatures written in identical handwriting, her own, and at the bottom a note. Stop showing the house. It's already sold. The basement door. That night, Dana returned to double-check the house's alarm system. The storm outside had worsened. Rain lashed the windows, thunder echoing through the halls. When she entered the kitchen, she noticed a door she hadn't seen before, narrow beside the fridge, painted the same color as the wall. Its doorknob was ice-cold. It led to a short staircase descending into the dark. A faint sound rose from below, whispering, overlapping voices. "Hello?" she called. Her own voice answered back, "Hello." She turned, but the echo came from behind her, from inside the house. Using her phone's flashlight, she descended. The basement was unfinished. Concrete floor, exposed pipes. At the center stood a single wooden chair facing a blank wall. On it rested a small tape recorder, still spinning. She pressed play. A recording of her voice filled the basement. "I told you not to go back there." "Dana." Then another voice joined in, male, rough, close to the mic. "She doesn't listen." Suddenly, a loud thud echoed upstairs like a door slamming. She dropped the recorder and bolted up the steps. But when she reached the kitchen, the door had vanished. Only a smooth white wall remained. "Voices in the walls," Dana called the previous owner the next morning. When he picked up, his voice trembled. "You went into the basement, didn't you?" "How did you—" "That's not a basement. It's the heart of the house." He explained that the structure was built using salvaged wood from an old psychiatric hospital destroyed in a fire in 1963. The insulation contained parts of acoustic testing panels, walls designed to hear and absorb human sound for experiments. "The house doesn't just echo," he said. "It remembers." As he spoke, Dana heard faint static through her phone, then her own voice overlapping his, repeating, "It remembers." She hung up, heart racing. Every night after, she heard faint movements, footsteps pacing on the second floor, whispers traveling through the vents. Sometimes her own voice, mimicking words she hadn't said yet. During one recording session, to document it, she captured something terrifying. In between her questions, a male voice whispered, "She's almost inside." When she played it again, there was no voice and only her own laughter, but she hadn't laughed. The mirror room. Desperate for proof, Dana brought a camera crew to record overnight. 3 men, skeptical but curious, set up thermal sensors and microphones around the house. The house was silent. Too silent. Around 3 a.m., one of the crew members pointed out something wrong with the mirror in the living room. Their reflections didn't match their movements. When one man waved, the reflection didn't. It just stood there. Suddenly, the microphones picked up faint scratching and coming from inside the mirror. The glass rippled slightly like water disturbed by touch. Dana stepped closer. Her reflection smiled back a moment too late. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. Her reflection mouthed the same words, but with a delay, and then it blinked the wrong eye. The lights burst. The mirror cracked down the middle. When the camera crew fled outside, the front door refused to open. Behind them, the shards of glass vibrated, the cracks forming into words. "Stay quiet." By morning, all recording devices were dead. The footage corrupted. Only 1 second of video survived. Dana standing before the mirror, mouth open as if screaming, though the clip was silent. Silence takes hold. After the failed investigation, Dana moved in temporarily to keep an eye on the listing. But something about her changed. She stopped answering calls. Neighbors said her lights stayed on all night, but no one ever saw her leave. Inside the house, a low hum filled every room, almost like breathing. One morning, her co-worker, Lena, visited. The front door was ajar. She found Dana standing in the living room, staring at the cracked mirror, whispering softly, "Dana." Dana turned slowly. Her pupils were dilated, skin pale. She smiled, not quite right. "They listen better when you whisper." Then she tilted her head, as if hearing something deep within the walls. From the vents, Lena heard faint giggling, like children repeating Dana's every word in perfect unison. She ran outside, trembling. When she called 911, dispatch said, "Ma'am, that house was condemned last week. No one should be in there." When police arrived minutes later, the house was dark, empty, no sign of Dana. But on the mirror, written in condensation, were the words, "Listen." the audio file. 3 months later, Biotech repairman fixing Dana's old laptop found a folder labeled Hollow Creek Audio. Each file was time-stamped, hundreds of recordings. Most contained silence, but the final one was different. At first, the sound was faint breathing. Then Dana's voice, "If you're hearing this, don't speak inside that house." It repeats you. It learns. A second voice overlapped hers, identical in tone. It learns. Then a third, deeper version joined in. "She's ours now." The recording ended with a loud click, like a microphone being turned off, followed by silence so deep it hurt to listen. The tech uploaded the file online, thinking it was a hoax. Within days, people who played it reported hearing whispers in their own homes, repeating their names through speakers, vents, and walls. The house still stands. Hollow Creek Drive is empty now. The property was officially condemned, fenced off by the county, but at night, locals claim they can still see a single light glowing upstairs, moving from room to room, as if someone is showing the house again. Sometimes, if you walk by the fence, you can hear muffled whispers through the wind. It listens, and if you stand too long, you might hear your own voice whisper back, not from your mouth, but from somewhere inside the house. The architect's nameplate still rests by the mailbox, half covered in dirt. The letters are carved faintly into steel. D. Mercer & Co. But Dana never owned the place, and no one ever built another home there. Only the sound remains, faint, patient, and waiting for another voice to mimic.